Hello panel, hello everybody. My name is Ciara O'Farrell from Trinity College Dublin. I'm here with Anne Jordan, who is our lead academic developer for this programme, and some of our partners, Michelle Tuher from NUIG and Theresa Moylan from IADT. Teresa Logan Phelan is our project manager, and she's not able to be here because she's abroad at the moment. So hopefully between us we can answer your very nicely phrased questions. So our project essentially was to develop an online programme for graduate teaching assistants. We had a module, a 5ECTS module in Trinity, which our graduate teaching assistants used to attend. It was a face-to-face module, and we found that, obviously with the type of work that we all do within our institutions, having 20 students at a time come in to the module wasn't addressing the large need that we had for TAs to undertake professional development. So that's the genesis of this online module in teaching and learning. These are our partners. The idea was that it would be obviously available to all the partner institutes of the National Forum, and we really wanted it to be flexible. So what we have done is we have created a 5ECTS module which can be either fully online or it can be blended, it can be topped and tailed as institutions wish to do it. It can be for credit, if you like, according to your institution, or not for credit. We'll be doing both in Trinity, for example. You can take all of the module if you're doing it for credit, or if you're not doing it for credit, it might just be that students or TAs can dip in and do blocks. We've called them blocks, they're 7 blocks. And we made it on advice of the panel for TAs who are either about to teach or already teaching. So we've tried to make it as flexible as possible. This was our work plan. We're at the moment we're ready to implement. We've gone through, the development is done. We're evaluating it at the moment. NUIG have just created an evaluation which will go to both students who are taking the programme to evaluate it, and also to the partner institutes who are also going to pilot it and evaluate it with their teaching assistants or other cohorts. What do we need to do? Well, we need to think about now possible approaches to assessment. Obviously, how we assess it will depend on our own institutions, but I think we're going to give some guides for how we assess. And the other thing that we need to do is kind of create an integrative online assessment for those who aren't taking it for credit, but perhaps whose schools want to ensure that they have completed the programme. So it will be kind of an integrative quiz at the end, and once they have got all the questions right, it can possibly generate a certificate of completion. So, impact. Well, I think that it's going to be really important for us to communicate this. The impact will be a lot based on how many teaching assistants actually use the programme and complete the programme or the module. So we are going to have to communicate it and disseminate it across the institutes. We still have a small part of our budget allocated to this, so we'll be doing that after the summer. We're going to think a lot about ownership. I think ownership is going to be very important. Because it's something that's going to go out through the schools, through the departments. So certainly in Trinity, what we're trying to do is get it out there in our graduate studies committees and work with the schools to say this is your product, it's for your students, and so that they can create some ownership from it. I think it's going to be important that we get constant feedback on it. It is something where we can update resources as we go. So we're possibly thinking of it being owned also by the teaching and learning centres, and that we create a point of contact within the teaching and learning centres so that they can feed back. And Teresa Logan Phelan suggested also that we kind of think about a community of practice around this module, which I think is a good idea. So did you all manage to see the... Okay, so I'll just take you through it briefly then, just to show a few things on it. It's not that one, sorry. Okay. So this is what it looks like when you go into Blackboard, or however it's going to be hosted in your institutions. Oh, it's not. Press escape out of presentation. Okay. Sorry, I'm used to Apple. You can actually come out of the presentation if you want to just shut it down. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so this is the home page which you come into. The blocks are written on the left-hand side. We have 7 blocks. Some of them are longer than others. Some of them have different parts to it. The learning outcomes, the objectives are on the home page. And an introduction to the lead academics who will be introducing modules or taking part in it. Okay, so each block follows a similar format. So the first thing you see is an introduction to the block. So in this case, it's the role of the graduate teaching assistants. There's Anne. You can read it as a transcript or you can play it.
Hello and welcome to this block, the role of the graduate.
You're not hearing, are you?
In the online module.
Okay. So Anne will introduce the role and the modules. And sorry, it's very, very slow. The connection here isn't good. Okay, well, the first thing that you normally have, I'll talk you through it, is the lead academic introducing you briefly to what you're going to be doing and to the learning outcomes of the module. So that's in the introduction. Then you would go to preparation. Okay, so the next stage the TAs would do is to before they actually do the PowerPoint, they get to think about certain aspects, prepare it, read things. So in this case, and again it's very slow loading, in the preparation section on, say, the role of the teaching assistant, there is a video, a TED Talk they can watch. There's the learning styles quiz by Honey Mumford, which they can take to think about how they learn. And then we've uploaded, in this case, a video which gets them to think. I don't know if you've ever seen this, it's great, how students, vision of students today, how students learn. So again, it just gets them thinking, gets them in the right place before they do their piece. Likewise, the role of the graduate teaching assistant. I'll just show you this one. If they're new to it, if they haven't taught before, there's one survey. If they have taught before, there's another one. So in this case, it's just a few questions to ask. So this is about the role of the graduate teaching assistant. So asking them, do they know if they're qualified to actually be a teaching assistant? So if they say, I don't know, then they submit and they're taken to another question saying, well, look, in order to be a teaching assistant, you need to have the following qualifications. Have you got the approval of your research supervisor to teach? If they say no, then it's just, look, really you should talk to your research supervisor before you do that. And then it goes on, how many hours would they be expected to teach? And okay, so the next stage on these is the study stage. So let me go into the role again. This is the main part. So this consists of an interactive presentation. It's also on audio. It's also on a PDF. So however you want to do it, you click on the presentation. I doing for time? 4 minutes, okay. It's very slow. Okay, so this is, you're not going to hear the audio, but this is an audio where, in this case, Anne talks about the role of the teaching assistants,
Professor Anne Jordan, and I will be
and she tells them the learning outcomes. And
Graduate teaching assistants, or GTAs, support the lecturer or module leader in teaching their students. GTAs play a crucial role.
so that's saying
in
what the
providing
GTAs do.
students.
The next phrase will,
They may act as facilitators in seminars or tutorials, lecture to groups, or in STEM subjects, act as lab demonstrators or fieldwork assistants. They may also supervise undergraduate projects or dissertations and be involved in assessment at early undergraduate stages.
so that just gives you an idea of the look and feel of it. That's very slow. I'm not going to play around with it too much, but basically it,
Click each tab to learn
here you
more
go.
about
So you can
specific
press the
roles
tabs
in
and you can
graduate
learn more.
teaching.
So if you're somebody who's involved in the field, then you'll go to that tab and you'll get some ideas of what it is in the field. If you're somebody who's going to give a tutorial in English, then you'd press another tab. We've tried, it's generic in many ways, but we have tried and made it also useful for people within the disciplines. Okay, let's go back. So once they've done the presentation or presentations, then they get to apply what they're doing in practice, hopefully. So let's get to let's do this one. So again, a series, it really just depends on the module, and we can add to these. This is something that can be dynamic, and we can add to it as we go on. There is a learning journal that goes along with this, so we have. So that's where they reflect on what they have done. Other things are, let's have a look here. So in this module on reflection, we show them how to write a teaching philosophy statement. So in the apply section, we're asking them to read 2 teaching philosophy statements, which are actually written by our graduate teaching assistants who worked with us on, who really co-developed the course when Anne was doing it. So they'll read these and they'll reflect on these and they'll comment on these, and they have some questions to think about. So again, various things that they can apply. The next section then is to reflect on what they have done. So let's have a look at one of these on reflection. Let's do designing an online activity. Reflect. So in this case, they have the learning journal as well, and they have to post some ideas for the learning journal about how the technology can work with them in this instance. Okay. After that, you recall, which essentially is just a little quiz, a little online quiz. So let's go to one of these. Let's go to a different one. Let's go to designing a session. Let's go to recall. All of these just have a little quiz which just brings up some of the key information again, and the TAs can just be prompted or reminded about what they have learnt and worked with. It's very slow. So that's what that looks like. So is this a learning aim? Submit. No, it's an example of an objective, etc., etc. Okay. The final part then for each of the blocks is an extend section, and in this case, let's go back into session planning. The extend section is where they do some extra reading, where we can again link them into videos. In this case, there's some work on working in the field or getting started as a teaching assistant, and again these can all be added to as we go along. So sorry it was a bit slow. Hopefully that's given a flavour of what we're doing. Okay.